Hey everyone, Jamie Oliver here. I hope you're all doing well and feeling ready to tackle something new today. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jamie, what do you know about exams? Well, let me tell you, I've had my fair share of challenges, and I know a thing or two about overcoming them. Listen, I know exams can be a real pain in the backside. They can make you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. The stress, the pressure, the endless hours of studying, it can all get a bit overwhelming, can't it? We've all been there staring at those questions like they're written in some ancient language. It's like trying to decipher a code that just doesn't make any sense. You start to wonder if you're ever going to crack it. But don't you worry, we're going to tackle this UCAT Abstract Reasoning thing together, and I promise it's not as scary as it sounds. With a bit of guidance and some practice, you'll start to see the patterns and the logic behind it all. It's all about breaking it down and taking it one step at a time. Think of it like learning a new recipe. When you first look at the list of ingredients and the steps involved, it can seem a bit daunting. But once you start to break it down and follow the instructions, it all starts to come together. At first, all those ingredients and steps seem confusing, but once you get the hang of it, it's a piece of cake. You start to see how each step leads to the next, and before you know it, you've created something amazing. We're going to break it down into bite-sized pieces, and before you know it, you'll be a UCAT whiz. It's all about practice and persistence. The more you work at it, the more it starts to make sense. And trust me, the feeling of finally getting it is absolutely worth it. So grab a cuppa, get comfy, and let's dive in. We're in this together, and I'm here to help you every step of the way. Let's make this journey a fun and rewarding one. Ready? Let's get started. Now this UCAT Abstract Reasoning, or AR as the cool kids call it, is one of the 5 subtests in the UCAT exam. It's designed to assess your ability to identify patterns among abstract shapes. Essentially, it's all about testing how well you can spot patterns and solve puzzles. But it's not just any kind of puzzle. These are visual puzzles that require a keen eye and a sharp mind. Imagine you're trying to figure out the secret code in a treasure hunt. You have to look at various clues and decipher the hidden message. That's kind of what AR is like. It's that moment of realization, that aha moment when everything clicks into place. You'll see a bunch of shapes and patterns, and your job is to figure out the rule that connects them. These rules can be anything from the number of sides a shape has to the color, to the direction it's facing. It's like a game, really. And just like any game, it has its own set of rules and strategies. The more you understand these rules, the better you'll perform. And just like any game, the more you practice, the better you get. Practice helps you recognize patterns faster and more accurately. Don't worry, we'll go through some examples together so you can see exactly what I mean. Ready? Let's do it. So let's dive a bit deeper. When you first look at an AR question, it might seem overwhelming. There are so many shapes and patterns, and it can be hard to know where to start. But don't worry, there's a method to the madness. Start by looking at the simplest elements first. Check for basic features like the number of shapes, their colors, and their positions. Sometimes the rule can be as simple as all shapes having an even number of sides. Next, look for changes. Do the shapes change color? Do they rotate? Do they increase or decrease in number? These changes can give you clues about the underlying rule. Once you've identified a potential rule, test it against all the shapes in the pattern. If it holds true for all of them, you've likely found the right rule. If not, go back and look for other possibilities. Timing is also crucial. In the UCAT, you have a limited amount of time to answer each question. So, it's important to practice under timed conditions. This will help you get used to the pressure and improve your speed. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more familiar you'll become with the types of patterns and rules that appear in the AR section. And with familiarity comes confidence. So keep practicing, stay positive, and believe in yourself. You've got this. Let's tackle some practice questions together and see how well you can do. Ready? Let's go. Alright, so when you're looking at these UCAT R questions, the first thing you gotta do is channel your inner detective. Put on your Sherlock hat and get ready to spot those clues. Start by looking at the shapes themselves. Are they circles, squares, triangles? Are they big or small, filled in or empty? Every little detail matters. Next, check out how those shapes are arranged. Are they in a line, a grid, or scattered all over the place? Is there a particular order they follow? These are all important clues that will help you crack the code. One common type of pattern you'll see in UCAT is all about the shapes themselves. Shapes are fundamental elements in many visual puzzles, and understanding their properties can be key to solving these challenges. When you look at a sequence of shapes, it's important to observe not just the shapes themselves, but also how they change and interact with each other over time. This can include changes in size, orientation, color, and number of sides. By paying close attention to these details, you can start to discern the underlying rules that govern the sequence. The rule might be something like the number of sides on the shape increases by 1 each time. This is a common pattern where each subsequent shape in the sequence has 1 more side than the previous one. For instance, you might start with a triangle, which has 3 sides, followed by a square with 4 sides, then a pentagon with 5 sides, and so on. This type of pattern is straightforward once you recognize the rule, but it requires careful observation to notice the incremental changes in the number of sides. For example, you might see a triangle, then a square, then a pentagon. Each of these shapes has a different number of sides, and the sequence follows a clear, logical progression. Recognizing this pattern can help you predict the next shape in the sequence. If you see a triangle, square, and pentagon, you can reasonably expect the next shape to be a hexagon, which has 6 sides. This type of logical reasoning is crucial for solving shape-based puzzles in UCAT. See how the number of sides is increasing? That's the pattern. Identifying this kind of pattern can be very satisfying because it reveals the underlying structure of the sequence. Once you understand the rule, you can apply it to other similar puzzles. It's like cracking a code. Once you know the key, you can unlock the solution to many different problems. This skill is not only useful for UCAT, but also for other types of logical and analytical challenges. Another example could be the shape rotates 90 degrees clockwise each time. Rotation is another common pattern in shape sequences. In this case, the shape itself doesn't change, but its orientation does. For instance, you might have a square that starts off standing upright. In the next step, the square rotates 90 degrees to the right, so it's lying on its side. In the following step, it rotates another 90 degrees, so it's upside down, and so on. This type of pattern requires you to pay attention to the orientation of the shapes, not just their form. So you might see a square standing upright, which is the starting point of the sequence. From here, you need to observe how the square changes its orientation in each subsequent step. This can be a bit tricky because our brains are often more focused on the shape itself rather than its orientation. However, with practice, you can train yourself to notice these subtle changes, then lying on its side, then upside down, and so on. Each rotation is a clue to the pattern. By keeping track of these rotations, you can predict the next orientation of the shape in the sequence. This type of pattern is all about spatial reasoning and being able to visualize how shapes move in space. It's a valuable skill that can help you in many different types of puzzles and real-world problems. Keep an eye out for these shape-based patterns, as they are a common feature in UCAT. Whether it's the number of sides increasing, shapes rotating, or any other type of transformation, recognizing these patterns is key to solving the puzzles. Practice makes perfect, so the more you expose yourself to these types of challenges, the better you'll become at spotting the patterns quickly and accurately. And remember to pay attention to all the details. Every small change can be a crucial part of the pattern. Whether it's a slight rotation, a change in the number of sides, or even a shift in color, these details can provide the clues you need to solve the puzzle. So stay observant, keep practicing, and you'll become a master at recognizing shape-based patterns in no time.